Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the Flywheel Studio. I am joined today by Bill Rogers, CEO at AI 1 to Z, or as we say here in Canada, AI 1 to Z. Thanks for joining me, Bill. Good to see you again. We're chatting because you're going to be joining us at our Digital Momentum Summit on June 3rd in Toronto. And I want to give people a bit of a flavor for the content that they can expect at that event. You and I are going to share the stage, and I'm gonna pepper you with all kinds of questions about the AI landscape. But let me just start by asking you a setup question here. What are you seeing in the marketplace right now as you're going about talking about the services that you provide at AI 1 to Z? What kind of questions are people asking, and what do they want to know about enabling an AI experience on their website or their digital experience?
So we're often secondhand to the customer. We're typically talking to agencies, and agencies are coming to us with the same set of questions that they're being asked. And so, ultimately what we see is that companies really have to start thinking about AI and get their leadership team on board with it and actually put together what's a go-to market with AI, and then ultimately decide a plan. What's a tactical plan? What are the things that I would like to go deliver? So they're going to be faced with the concepts of, is this AI going to hallucinate?
Right.
Is the AI data going to be used by some vendor to retrain models?
Right.
Are the organizations, how much is this going to take to get set up? Those are the kind of the core things that we're hearing. Can the company pass a security audit and things like that?
Of course. And so I think that is the one misunderstanding at the moment, that if you bring AI into your digital experience, you kind of have to cross your fingers and hope that it's just gonna be helpful. You've got a solution for that. So why is that less of a concern for folks who want to deploy a managed AI experience?
So when people think of large language models, they think about the fact that you can ask it a question, it can come back with any answer. Or if you're a brand, you don't want it to be coming back with the answers about your competitors.
Right.
You want it to answer in your brand voice. And so the way this is done is that there's a way to ingest your data into one of these systems and only use your data as the core to answer the question. So you've basically put these guardrails around the system to say, if you can't answer the question based on this information, then I want you to nicely say, what's the purpose of the bot? And basically encourage them to ask questions around your brand and things that you would have in the system.
And so we've been piloting this, and we're deploying it for a couple of clients right now. The really powerful thing is that it gives transparency to the conversations that are going on, and it helps us and the client manage that experience and fine tune the way that the questions are coming in and the answers are going back, which I think is another misunderstanding. The fact that we can do that and we can filter through the way that these conversations are taking place goes a long way to giving reassurance to brands and digital experiences that this is going to be a useful tool.
Correct. You can really control the brand voice, and that it answers in your brand voice, and you also can help it to understand what's its objectives. And from those objectives, it might be putting in calls to actions to keep on moving that user down the pipeline, so that ultimately they're converting with what used to take lots of clicks to do a search, do a research project, and ultimately come back with information that would answer their question, but it took them too long, and there's fall off.
Right. Okay, so I've got an answer that I'll share to this question, but I'll ask you first, which is in some of the deployments that have happened so far, what has been some of the most surprising beneficial outcomes that people weren't expecting they would discover with one of these experiences?
So you're going to see in what is happening now is the concept of search and a virtual assistant is really becoming the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it becomes so powerful that when someone asks a question, that instead of doing that research project, it is literally coming up with an answer. And then it's not only showing you the reference of where it got the content from, but it's also driving that person to the next step. One feature that I really love is that when you're doing like an e-commerce website and someone says, how do I compare this product to that product? It literally will take information about product A, take information about product B, and do an unbelievable product comparison, even though there is no product comparison on their website.
Yeah, I really like that one. I've actually used that in person when, yeah, in a retail store. I was shopping for baseball bats with my son, and the AI did a better job of helping me understand the differences than the sales rep did. So it's definitely in an e-commerce experience. That's a quick win, being able to do that kind of product comparison.
Yes.
Okay, so the one that I wanted to share was, I mentioned that there's transparency and understanding some of the conversations that are happening. We've discovered, and our client has discovered to their delight, that this makes all of their content that much more robust. So they're watching the content and the questions that are going by, and they're going, oh, well, I can just add that to my website, as another way to boost SEO, boost user value, probably strengthen the response the model gives next time, because you're going to make a little bit of an adjustment to that along the way. But it's been a delight for our clients to be like, oh my God, I've been wanting to articulate this for a long time, and here it is. It's actually ready for me. So that's been really fun to see happen.
I guess the other really kind of an interesting thing, when we were early on in the company, we had an intern that was helping us ingest some websites. And so we ingested a website. And so they thought, okay, we'll just filter some of the content down. So they ingested only the Arabic content that was on a healthcare website. And so we were asking English questions, and we were getting all of the answers. And when I would click on the links, it would go to the Arabic content because we didn't have any English content to go to. And I think that that's one thing that is as a big delight, is how you can ingest content in one language and answer the questions in any language.
Yeah, that is also a real expense for clients to manage that bilingual experience, and it's often neglected as a result. And AI is absolutely going to improve that dramatically. So I love that one.
In Canada, of course, French and English content is a requirement.
Yeah.
So you do want, when you ingest the website, you want to actually ingest both language. And there's only one reason why you want to do that. It's not that it can't answer the questions in those language. It's that you want to be able to say, if when they answer the question, we're telling the backend system, use the French links. Don't use the English links, because when you have a reference to the source content, I want you to open up the French content if they're on a French website. And so the concept of, so we also can understand the language of the website itself and actually change the UX to be in that language. So we give it language packs, and you can understand it'll auto translate that as well.
Now, your solution provides that user interface experience from an AI perspective to support automating and optimizing the translation capabilities. We're also doing some deployments right now that totally streamline the ability for clients to manage bilingual content, so that more of it is natively in English and French, or whatever your two languages happen to be. So that also has been a great way to sort of pair AI solutions together. So let me ask you another question here about the future of AI and where this is all going. We are, being intimidated by the prospects of AGI. But before we even get to that, what is going to be the next evolution of what a digital experience is? And we're hearing a lot about AI agents and agentic behavior.
Yes.
From somebody who is immersed in this daily. Can you tell me do a little bit of future casting here for me? What do digital experience managers need to think about in order to be ready for that future? How fast is it coming, and what are some of the opportunities?
I think the future is here, but I would suggest that you step into it in steps.
Yeah.
So, the question of being able to ingest your content and using questions and answers and just proving that AI makes a dramatic improvement of the search experience and answering questions. Then this concept of I have these agentic agents that are like this ability to use them to go find out other information. So imagine you're doing that search experience. Instead of getting the answers from the question and answer engine, the system says, I actually need to know who this person is. So
right.
It prompts out a way to get maybe their email address. And then it then will go call an agent to talk to Shopify to say, go give me the products that this person has purchased. And then now it's as a reasoning engine, it has context of how to interact with that user from that step forward.
And that is, I think, going to be probably the next iteration of this that we're all going to be excited about. I know it's here now, but it's the reasoning part. It's not just like, oh, I can go and be really clever about retrieving data, but I can think about the best way to answer this question.
Correct. And so when you start thinking about what these systems are, the system itself, first, when it gets a question, it says, it puts a plan together, and that plan can be multiple steps. So it puts a plan together to say, how am I going to answer this question? So that first thing might be, I need to know who this user is. So it gets a form, collects some data. Then the next step is it might need to go to the CRM. The third step might be, because it knows this stuff, it knows to create the right kind of query to go to the RAG system to go get content to come back that's relevant to now the context of who this user is, and then stream that results back to the user. And this all happens in a fraction of seconds, so that the user starts seeing something that's extremely relevant and gets them to the answer or solves some problem for what they're doing. And I would say the other thing that you see, that every time you think about building one of these solutions in the past, you always used to deal with some sort of flow chart to go deal with how do you build a chatbot. So people have a real negative experience about chatbots.
Right.
But because this is a reasoning engine, it knows that people change their mind all the time. You might be in the middle of a process and the person asks something out of the blue, but it knows it has a purpose. So it answers the question and it tries to continue the user down the purpose of what's the purpose of that bot, that organization. Is it to promote a product? Is it to get them to some next step? So
deflect a customer service inquiry. Yeah. Well, I'm not to give too much away, but I know that you have a slide that kind of shows the map of this decisioning and how this all works. And looking at that diagram for me was like, oh, now I get it. So I'm really excited to show that to the audience at the event, and I think that will be a real.
So we've just actually made a new one of those that is much higher, like another level higher, that I think is much better to talk to people with, because before what we used to show, I think it was like, holy moly, what's going on in here? So showing that to an agency is a good thing. Showing that to an end customer, they're like, this looks like rocket science here. But it's
well,
really
Well, we've had a lot of fun and found a lot of usefulness in the platform already, and our clients are very excited when they get their hands on it and think about how this gets to enhance their digital experience and the future of their business. So I'm very excited to have you up on stage and share some of that time with you and the audience at our event in June. So thanks again for joining us, Bill.
Thank you.